All right, Mark, we're just about ready to watch our most recent podcast, SoCo's Most Interesting Podcast. And we have our first guest. And without giving away our guest, what's something interesting or unusual that you learned about in this podcast?
I learned that there's a lot of opportunities to work with somebody like this, and that their job is not to have all the answers, right? Their job is to find out the things you need to get answers for. And that might give it away a little bit. But I think that's one of the big things. A lot of people think that it's a one-stop shop, and it's not necessarily that way.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I found was very interesting is our guest's background. I would have never guessed the background of our guests led them to what they do. So,
right.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. All right, everybody.
One thing that, well, hold on, before you get started on it too, though. Well, one thing that I wanted to point out too, though, was the fact that he and I actually talked after, and there's a couple things that he used to be a music teacher. And so if you ever, next time you're with him, ask him to sing for you, and then you're going to get a really good opportunity to hear just a wonderful voice of an angel.
He's played the piano for me.
Oh my gosh.
Actually.
Yeah. See, we should just get him on there for that next time too.
Exactly. Okay, now
we can get started.
Are you ready? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready now.
All right, everybody, stand by. Here comes the podcast.
All right. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome back to SoCo's Most Interesting Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ditkof, with my amazing co-host, Mr. Chris Bongirno. How are we doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good, Mark. How about yourself, sir?
I am having the best day ever, and I'm really excited today about our special guest that we have here. All ready to go. We have Mr. Tyler Paul with Sure Inspections. Tyler, can you hear us okay?
I'm here. I hear you fine.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Tyler, we wanted to get you on here because I think, and I think Chris thinks, home inspections are a really big deal. A lot of people don't understand necessarily what all goes into them and what they're looking for and all the kind of intricacies to it. And so would love to talk to you today a little bit about, how did you get into home inspections? What's your background? We'll get into some extra details there, but let's start with that. So how did you get into home inspections?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I mean, I've been around here in Pueblo for many, many years. And I, like you, have spent time as a teacher. I've spent time working as a quality assurance person at the steel mill. I've worked as an accountant. And I've also worked in lean manufacturing. So I've done quite a bit of a variety of items. I've also done a lot of handyman things throughout my time here. And so when 2020 hit and we had COVID happen and there were a lot of layoffs, and I happened to be one of them. And I decided at that point I wanted to become in charge of my own destiny. And so that's where I decided I'm going to take my skills and take my knowledge and bring things to people that I can help them with. I understand homes, I understand people, and so I put those things together, and that's how we came with Sure Inspections as a home inspection business. And so it's been wonderful. I love helping people.
Awesome. Tyler, can you, for people that don't really understand what you do as a home inspector, a lot of people have family members or friends that are from the trades, dad's a plumber or an electrician or spent 30 years as a contractor. Talk a little bit about the differences of when you look at a home versus those folks, because I think all three of us would agree having a second set of eyes, like a family member that was a general contractor, an electrician, or a plumber, is good. That's not a bad thing. But the idea of a professionally trained home inspector, talk a little bit about that training and how you bring that to when you're looking at a home.
You bet. And I have not been an electrician. I have not been a plumber. I mean, as an official license type of thing. But I have taken numerous courses and numerous classes in order to understand the home and the systems within inside the home. So that includes electrical and HVAC items and plumbing items, just like you mentioned. One of the differences that you might get with someone like myself versus your dad or your uncle that's an electrician is they know that system really well, and they might know plumbing a little bit, and they might know HVAC a little bit. Um, but when you get someone like myself, who's not necessarily an expert at everything, but knows a lot about a lot of items, I'm able to put things into context, connect items or problems together so we can see what's causing them, and understand the whole house rather than just one system or area of the home.
And if I understand right, Tyler, like your training isn't how to be an electrician or how to be a
That's right.
plumber. Your training is how to look at an electrical system and determine if there's an issue. Is that a more accurate description
That's
of what your
exactly it.
training is?
Yep. I want to make sure that when I'm looking at it, I can identify, hey, that doesn't look right. There's an issue right here. And then maybe the electrician knows a little bit more then at that point of, okay, I know how to fix it. I'm not the one that tells you how to fix it, but I'm able to identify that there is an issue that's not quite right.
So if I'm going to buy a home, then I don't need to worry about lining up an electrician and a plumber and a roofer and all the different trades to look at all of those individual systems. I guess the goal is then we're going to bring you in and you're going to then tell me, hey, you should bring in an electrician, but you don't need to bring in a plumber, that kind of, and then you kind of can then tell me which trades I need to focus on based on the issues you may have found.
That's exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're welcome to. You can schedule all those things up, and they're going to do an excellent job too. But it is going to take a lot of your time, and it might take some of your money on that too,
Yeah.
in order to do it. And then, well, anyway, there's a lot to it. But like you said, so I'll identify an issue with the electrical system, but the plumbing looked good, and so no need to call a plumber.
Awesome.
So that's it.
So as I'm going through the purchase process of a home, why say my uncle is a general contractor, so they kind of know a little bit about everything, right? Why would I pay somebody like you as a home inspector instead of just bringing my uncle in?
That's a great question, Mark. The thing is someone like myself or home inspector will get into just about most areas of the home. A lot of people, even when you call, because I've had plenty of walkthroughs with uncle or father or whatever, that they don't get in the attic, they don't get in the crawl space, they don't look in all the same areas. And even though they're there trying to look for certain items, they're still really excited for you and still looking at, yeah, this is going to be a fun home for you. So their depth of that, what they're looking at, might not be as deep as I'm going to look at. But their information is valuable, and I love talking with them and bouncing things off of them when they find something or I find something, so that we can all agree and understand it better.
Tyler, talk about some of the things that you don't do. Because I think there's a distinction in that, because I know from my own personal experience, I've had home inspections in the past. Of course, before I met you, Tyler. And, the first one I ever had, I expected that I would get, information on every single aspect of the home. And when I didn't, I was kind of like, well, what am I paying for? Like, how come you're not doing that? So can you talk about some of the things you don't cover and then why you don't cover those?
Yeah. So a home inspection is, it's a visual inspection of accessible areas. And so sometimes there's areas that we can't get into. So sometimes those items are going to be uh, a limitation, right? Sometimes the attics are, I'm a skinny person, but sometimes those attic or those crawl space openings are just really, really small, especially in old homes. And so sometimes the access is limited to those spaces. Um, I think that I'm really good at my job, but I have not gotten that ability to see through walls, so I can't see things that are inside walls. And
How
so
about
there
like
are some things like that.
how about like sprinkler systems? Because
Yeah,
that's
and
one that came up on mine.
that's right. We don't really do sprinkler systems very often. That's for a few different reasons there, especially here in Colorado, where half of our season it's winterized anyways. And then the second one of the well, I'm going to call second reason is so much of that system is underground that I can't see that underground stuff. So if there is an issue with it underground, I can't observe it. And then I suppose that a third reason would be is if I do look at the sprinklers, then Chris might be wondering, why do I have a dead spot in my grass? I thought you said that the whole
Right.
sprinkler system was good. Why is it missing that area?
Exactly.
And so that's just a little bit further than I think that I can do a good job on, that I can do throughout the whole year, and also be able to spend time there and not make it take time from another system that's valuable.
Right.
So what other services outside of you just visually inspecting all the accessible areas of the home, are there other services people can hire you for that you do that are a little bit above and beyond your typical scope of work?
Yeah. So with the general home inspection, we're looking at just about everything within the home, just about. I mean, from the top on the roof through the attic, down to the foundation, crawl space, basement, whatever we're able to get to is generally going to get some eyes on it, as well as anything that's really in between it. So we kind of mentioned electrical systems. We mentioned some HVAC systems, plumbing, which would be like water heater and functionality of kitchens and bathrooms and doors, and we're looking for things to be safe for you around your home, and we want to tell you how you can upgrade things to make it safer. There are some items that are a little bit above and beyond that that I or other home inspectors often offer. Here in Colorado, we have a lot of radon tests. So it's a machine that is able to detect the level of radon, which according to the government EPA, they say that the radon is a leading contributor to lung cancer deaths. And so they say we want to test for it so we can create a mitigation system to help prevent that. Also, we do things like sewer scope, which is a camera that we send down the sewer line so you can see all that glorious pipe underground, and you can see if there's roots or if it's broken or if it's backing up. There's all sorts of fun stuff in there sometimes, and when it's really good, there's nothing to see, and it's beautiful.
I hear that video can be kind of a crappy thing to watch.
It does stink.
Oh, come on.
Oh, what do you mean? So those are two. We also do things such as mold testing and can do stuff like asbestos testing or lead-based paint testing if that's the desire. Water quality testing is something that is offered throughout. Oh my goodness! Look how unprofessional I'm sorry.
Hey, it keeps it as the most interesting podcast.
Oh, well, it is. I don't even know who this person is.
That and the God aura you keep having behind you.
That's right.
There you go.
What that does is it detracts from this glare that's up here. See,
yeah,
it's a little bit less when you do that.
Tyler, so what is give me something that meets our show criteria of the most interesting podcast. Tell me about something that surprised you, or you had to call 911 to address, or whatever, something kind of over the top that you've run into, whether the homeowner or the buyer would have seen it or not, something that shocked you.
Okay. I mean, I see on a nearly daily basis something that's pretty interesting. Some of them more cool, interesting, and some of them a little bit not as fun or interesting. But here we go. This is I was inspecting. It was kind of a cabin type of thing, really nice, very fancy, expensive cabin up in the mountains, and I was noticing a lot of funny like marks on the ground, just kind of along the sidewalk and in the flower beds, and I wasn't quite sure what it was I was looking at. Just like some black spots. So I'm always just really curious to figure stuff out and learn a little bit more. So I said, okay, what's directly above that? So I looked up and I don't see anything, but I saw some siding. So I'm okay, well, maybe the siding's dripping sap or something. So I get a little closer and then I look up. And as I look up, there's a family of bats just sleeping inside of this siding right there. And I wasn't expecting to see bats, and I had my face very close to that opening, and so it was pretty creepy. Uh, Bats are always creepy. I'll see them every now and then in attics, and it's just like like in the cartoon Batman. You know, when the bad guy's doing something, he sees a little in the background where Batman's coming up behind him. It was just like that. You just see a little flash of movement, and it doesn't take long. You say, "Oh, dang, there's something in here. I better get out of here." So, um, anyway, bats a few times.
Tyler, I'm going to ask you a question from the lending standpoint of this. In when we do loans and we're doing an FHA loan or a VA loan or a USDA loan, we have an appraisal done, and they come up with, I heard that crack. The appraisers address health and safety issues when they're going through, but it's not a home inspection. Appraisers have a completely different function. So talk to me a little bit about when you see a health and safety issue, how do you differentiate that in your reports or how you're communicating with the home buyer versus something that's more on the cosmetic side of it, if you will?
Sure. Cosmetic stuff is stuff that sometimes the buyer thinks that that's the important stuff, and that's what they're looking at. Um, Cosmetic stuff, I don't pay quite as much attention to unless it's giving us indications that there's something bigger going on for it. As far as health and safety, though, so if there's something that looks like it is unsafe, or if it doesn't even, sometimes if it doesn't meet current safety standards, and it's something that we want to update or upgrade to increase the safety for you or your family, then we mark those in the report. So I'll take a picture. I put a little caption underneath it that says we have this issue. This railing is loose, or the railing is low, or whatever. And so it's in the report. It's labeled, and then it gets a little special pizzazz to it. It gets some red coloring to it, so that it pops out when you're looking through the report. And then it also puts it up at the beginning. So there's a section of big items. So there are going to be big cost items as well as health and safety issues. Is that
so
you're looking at?
Yeah.
So that actually can,
absolutely.
I would say that leads me to a common conversation I have with a lot of the buyers that we work with when they're talking about the home inspection. And they always ask, if the house sold in the last couple of years, or while we're looking at a house, they'll ask us, will this pass inspection? Or how did this pass inspection? And so one thing that I always like to note to people, and I hopefully you can kind of back me up on this, is inspections aren't pass and fail. Right? It's not like, hey, this house failed or this house passed. Yes, you can buy it. It failed. No, you can't buy it. It's really just for education purposes. Right now, Chris, on the lending side, it kind of can pass and fail, right? From the appraisal standpoint, It'll fail in terms of like they have conditions that would have to be met in order for the financing to go through. And the seller or whoever it is could say, I'm not going to do those things. And so therefore it kind of fails and the deal falls apart. But with a home inspection, Tyler, there's no pass and fail, right? You're there just to show them, hey, there's some deficiencies. You could potentially call in experts in this area if you want more information. But at the end of the day, you could just buy it as is, right? Because maybe a roofer is buying the house and the roof is shot. And in your opinion, they should get a licensed roofer out there to replace it. But the guy goes, well, I am a roofer. I'll just do it when I buy the house, right? And so expand on, is there a pass and fail or what does that look like?
See, when I first started, I bought a really big stamp that said fail on it, and I haven't used it yet. Yeah, and it was expensive. So, no, it's
I think you should start using it for fun.
We'll see. Brand new house, fail. No, I'll never work again. No, it's not a pass and fail. And even, I think sometimes what people are thinking when they're thinking of pass and fail is lots of times they're thinking about code. And even as far as
Right.
code goes, I'm not looking at things as a code inspector. A lot of the things I look at might be based off of code. Code says to do something, and so I might suggest something because I know what the code is, but I'm not telling you have to do it because of. And so I think that's where that thought of pass or fail comes from. But just like you said, I mean, I'm there to present. This is for the older folks that watch podcasts. I'm here for just the facts, man. Do you know that one, Chris?
I
Yeah.
do. I do.
Yes. Okay. So
Thank
it's a
you for
Joe Friday,
implying I'm
right?
elderly.
Uh,
Well, I think what you're doing, Tyler, is you're giving people information so that they can make an informed decision, right,
that's
Mark? I
it.
mean,
That's
I
it.
think you guys would agree. It's kind of a theme that Mark and I talk about on the podcast. Is my job as a lender is to provide information, and Mark's is to provide information, and yours is to provide information, and
That's right.
ultimately, it's the buyer or sometimes sellers. It's their responsibility to make the informed decision. It's our job to get them the information so that they're informed.
Right. And with that information, then they have so many choices and options um, uh, on how they want to address it, and that's where people like the realtor, like Mark, is going to guide them through all those options and steps, and so that's where all of us working together become a really valuable team.
Tyler, I'm sure you've been in homes where maybe there's been mold or something and you felt a little unsafe. I know I've been in homes in the past and I've actually had an asthma attack because of mold or dust that's been in there. Aside from something like mold, have you been in homes where you either felt unsafe being in there because of structure or something, or water or something, or that a buyer or seller it wouldn't be safe to be in there?
I don't know. I put myself in some dumb positions sometimes, probably more than I should. Um, uh, Nothing that's really been really, really super scary. If I see something like crawl spaces a lot, you'll look at them and you'll say that's a bad place. That's not a place I should be. Then yeah, I can't do something like that. Or
But
um,
you haven't been
I
into a home and been like, okay, I got to call somebody and get this thing condemned today.
no, no, I haven't.
They typically probably aren't hiring a home inspector
I
with
was going to
people
say
like
that
that,
same
right?
thing. Most of the buyers buying condemned homes, they just assume everything's wrong anyway. So
Right.
that's the time they skip the home inspection and then hope something's salvageable.
And
They're
so
gutting
really
it anyhow.
that was kind of my point, is that most of the time when people are buying these homes and they're getting a home inspector to go and look at them, sometimes there are surprises, I'm sure, but most of the time it's going to be things that a new homeowner is possibly could miss, a trained eye is going to find and help them evaluate how important that deficiency is to them. And
Mhm.
it sounds like it's more of an individual thing, right? Like when you're finding something, that particular problem may be really important and needs to be corrected with this particular buyer, and another buyer, like Mark, you said, like maybe it's a roofer buying the home and he's like, I'll deal with that after closing.
Mhm.
Is that kind of what you find when you're doing these with customers, Tyler?
Yeah, so I get asked a lot of questions by buyers for some personal. They just want personal information. They'll say, would you buy this house?" Or things like that. And the fact is I don't know what your skill set is. So a house like this is what I think in my mind. A house like this, I'm pretty handy. I can probably fix most of these items. If you're not handy, then maybe not. Or I feel like I'm really good, so no big deal. Or I feel really that roof, it might look bad, but I don't see any leaks. I think we got a little bit of time on it. So there's things that in my own feelings, they might not scare me as much, but it does depend on the person on how they want to feel about it.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, Tyler, we really appreciate you taking time today. I know you could
Yeah,
probably be out
absolutely.
inspecting a home, and instead you're here talking to us. And so we appreciate you. We hope that our viewers are learning a lot right now, and that if they wanted to reach out to you, Tyler, how do people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Durst home-inspections, or on the Google. I've got a website, sureinspectionsco.com, and on there I've got a good amount of pictures and offerings that we can do there, as well as an online scheduler if you want to schedule an inspection, or even any of the ancillary stuff as far as radon testing or sewers if you're looking for just that information. Or if you want to know more about just your own home without doing a full inspection, we do things like walkthroughs to just kind of look at what you got.
Awesome. Chris, how do people find you online?
The easy way is Google. You can also reach me at loandepot.com/cbongirno, and I'll put our contact information down in the comments as well, so you can reach any of the three of us there.
Awesome.
How about
and I'm
you,
Mark
Mark?
Ditkof. You guys can find me anywhere on any of the major social media platforms at Onyx Home Group or onyxhomegroup.kw.com. Look forward to bringing on more guests because this was super fun, Tyler. Again, we appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to see everybody next time on SoCo's Most Interesting Podcast.
See you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.